everybody, this is Miss Shelley with the Middendorf-Kredell Branch, and today we are going to talk a little bit about money. So today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the history of money and the symbols that you can find on money. All right, so we're actually going to start with a video. So here it is. This is put on by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And it's a cute, short, animated video, and it talks a little bit about the history of money, and then we're going to
Let's explore a little economics. One day, Tyrone, the great backyard explorer, was digging a hole when he found a small bag filled with shells. What a great discovery. Remember that in history class, his teacher, Mrs. Applebaum, said that people use shells as money. This gave Tyrone a great idea. Tyrone took his bag of shells to the local bike store to buy a cool new bike. But they wouldn't sell him a bike for shells. Then he went to the toy store to buy a new video game, but they wouldn't sell it to him for shells. Finally, he went to the candy shop to buy his favorite chocolate bar, but once again, they wouldn't sell it to him for shells. Tyrone was confused. Why couldn't he use his shells to buy the stuff he wanted? Was Mrs. Applebaum wrong? No, Tyrone's teacher wasn't wrong. People used certain types of shells as money in the past, but not anymore. In fact, throughout history, people have used all sorts of things as money, including beads, cows, grain, cubes of salt, dried fish, and copper. Why don't people still use shells as money, and what makes something useful as money? To answer these questions, it's important to understand the characteristics of money. To begin with, an item used for money must be relatively scarce, meaning there are limited amounts available. If people have easy access to the item, they could have as much as they want, and the item would lose its value. The item must also be durable or long-lasting. Copper is a type of metal, and it's usually more long-lasting than salt or grain. Salt will dissolve if it gets wet, and grain can get moldy or be eaten by mice. The item must be easily divided in order to make change. Cows are not easily divided. The item must be easy to carry around or portable. It might be easy to carry beads or shells, but it's difficult to put a cow in your pocket. The item must be accepted as payment for a good or a service. Suppose you walked your neighbor's dog and they tried to pay you with dried fish. Would you accept dried fish as payment? Probably not, because you can't use dried fish to buy a movie ticket, and a bank won't let you deposit dried fish in your savings account. Finally, does the item have a standard shape and size? If the item is uniform, people can trust in its value. If one salt cube was much smaller than another, it might be less valuable. These days, people take money for granted. But money is actually a fascinating human invention that allows you to buy goods and services easily. Plus, it's much easier to fit in your pocket than a cow.
All right. So definitely much easier than a cow. We don't use cows for money anymore. But there are all kinds of things that we used to use. So I pulled up this book while that was going on. This one's a really fun book. It's National Geographic, Kids, Everything Money. And it has all kinds of interesting information about money and things like that. We're going to look at a quick timeline in here. We're not going to look at the whole thing. There's a whole lot. So if you are interested in checking this one out, you can check out this book. That would be lovely. It does not grow on trees. But you can check this book out and learn even more about money. All right, so this talks about what is money. We use it all the time, right? But what is it? Like they said in the video, it's something that you can use in exchange for goods and services. So we usually think of it as bills or coins. But they didn't have those a long, long time ago. So they had to use other things. So like they said in the video, they used shells. They used all different kinds of things. They would trade things. I see potatoes being traded for meat, like a cow, all kinds of things. And so then here is a really neat timeline that kind of talks about some of it. So in the Stone Age, way back when, they would trade things, and it looks like the cowrie shells. It looks like they're saying that, but actually this is saying they used stone. That makes sense, the Stone Age. So they would use different stones in exchange for something else. This one, 30,000 years ago, talks about pink pigments of ground up minerals were exchanged in Europe. So the pigments were used in paints to make different pictures. They were made in caves and things like that. So they even used some of those pigments in exchange for things. 12,000 BC is when they were using the cowrie shells. So kind of way down here. And so these are those shells that they're talking about. You can kind of see them there. There's a little bit of a glare. There we go. So those are the shells that they were talking about that people would use. And it looks like they've kind of made them maybe into a bracelet or something like that even. And then the very first silver coins came 500 BC in the country that's now known as Turkey. So that was the Greek and Roman Empire. They put images of gods and emperors on their silver coins. This one's really neat. It's got, looks like an owl on that one. I think that one looks really, really neat. 200 BC, silk was used, much like money, in its trade across Asia and Europe helped ancient Rome and countries such as China and India develop and grow. So they used different silk. Let's see here. 806 AD, the paper first became a form of currency in China. So this is the very first time we were using paper money. So that was quite a while ago still, but it disappeared then after about 500 years and then came back again in the 1500s. So it was used just a little bit and then came back again later. And then this one, wampum, means white or white beads, named for the white clam shells that these strings of beads were made from. So this would be right here. This is a wampum belt. If I get real close, you can kind of see all those individual little beads. A lot of beads on there. They were made by Native Americans and most likely used for trading for different things. And then in 1821, the gold standard started. So we've got gold bars, and the gold standard meant that you had like a specific amount that something was worth. So we knew how much the gold was worth. And so that became the standard. It means that currency was once based on the value of gold. As gold increased or decreased in value, the paper money of a country became similarly more or less value. So it was used by several nations for many years, but they don't actually use it anymore now. Today, money is mostly currency-based. Different countries handle their monetary systems differently, and the value of money even changes a bit from day to day. People rely heavily on digital transactions to send money around the world. And I would say we use digital transactions a lot for all kinds of things. They're talking a little bit about the stock market and things like that. You can just transfer money from one account to another account. But a lot of times we're using debit cards or credit cards now, and we don't carry as much cash as people used to, or even checks, things like that. So that's just a little really, really fast timeline of currency throughout the world. So that shows you a few different things that people have used. I think it's really neat that they were using silk, the beads and the shells, and the first time that people were using coins and paper money and things like that are really neat. All right, so that's a little bit about the history of money. So we're going to look at the symbols on American money next. But first, I want to show you one of the activities that you have in your activity kit. If you were able to get an activity kit, all these things will be in there. If not, you can pretty easily do this yourself at home too. So what we have is a little piggy, and this is a game called Don't Break the Bank. And I found this on a site called the Primary Theme Park. So if you weren't able to get a kit and you're watching this, if you go there, you can download it and print out this game too. But it's pretty easy. So we have our piggy, and then we have our wheel down here that has 10 cents, 1 cent, looking at it backwards in the camera, 1 cent, 10 cents, 25 cents, and 5 cents. So these would be your different kinds of coins. So nickel, penny, dime, quarter, and then there is a hammer. So in this game, what you would do is you take the pencil and the paper clip that were in there. Your paper clip will actually go right on the center of this circle, like that. And then the pencil goes right inside of it. And if it's down on a table, what you can do then is you can spin your paper clip and it will land on one of those different coins. So if I spin it, oh, mine landed first on the hammer. So the way the game works is if you hit the hammer 3 times, you break the bank and lose everything in there. Let me try again. All right, that time I got 25 cents. Okay, so I can get into my coins and I can find a quarter, and then that'll go on my piggy bank. And then I can spin it again and keep going until I hit that hammer 3 times. Now you can use actual coins for this. I grabbed a few actual coins, but you can also use the printed coins that were in your kit as well. It was just a sheet of paper with some coins printed on it, so you can cut those out and use those too, whatever works better for you. If you don't have coins laying around at home, you can use the paper ones. And if you do have coins, you can use those, whatever you want to do. And then what you can do is once you break your bank, you need to add up all of your coins, see how much you had in there. And then you can try again the next time and try to get more in there before you break the bank. Or you can play against other people and see who can get more in their bank before it breaks. Okay, so that's just kind of a fun game, and it gives us a look at some different coins. So like I said, I've got a couple. I've got quarter, penny, dime, and nickel. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about the symbols that are on bills. And I showed this little guy. It's not really a $100 bill. It's just a little pad of paper. It's way smaller, but you can see some of the things that are on here. There are lots of numbers. There are lots of words and letters. There are pictures, all kinds of things. And this is just the front. So we're going to look at what some of those images on different bills mean. So what do the symbols on the dollar bill mean? And we've got the front and we've got the back. So we can see lots of different things. We're actually going to talk, some of the things that we talk about are on the back of it, and some of them are on the front here. So you can see lots of different little numbers around here, all these 2s on this one. We'll talk about what those mean, and this big list of numbers here, and this big letter. And then we'll talk about some of the symbols on the back of it as well. So we've got the pyramid and we've got the eagle and things like that. And there's a lot of symbols in there that when you first look at it, you think, oh, an eagle for America, right? But there are lots of little things in there too that have meaning as well. So first of all, the pyramid, that one I never really understood. Why is there a pyramid on our dollar bill? We don't have pyramids in America, in the United States of America anyway, but it represents strength and durability. Pyramids are very strong structures and they last for a very, very long time. And so it represents strength and durability. And then the top of the pyramid was actually left incomplete. So it actually just stops towards the top and it's not done. And that actually signified that the United States were always growing and improving and building. We were always working to be better and to expand and keep growing. And then there's the eye up at the top of the pyramid. I always thought that was the top of the pyramid. I didn't know why it was separated, but I thought that was the top. But apparently it's not even the top. It's just an eye up there. And it signifies divine providence and that this is what we were meant to do. And we're doing, what America was supposed to do. We were supposed to keep growing and be this strong country. And then this one I thought was really neat too. These letters down here at the very bottom are Roman numerals, and it's MDCCLXXVI. And that actually stands for 1776, the year America declared independence. So I think that's really neat too, because now I can look at it and be like, oh, 1776, that makes sense. All right, so then there's the eagle over on the other side. And the eagle definitely is the national bird of the United States, and it kind of represents our country. So I think the eagle makes a lot of sense, but he's also got this shield. And what's really neat about the shield is that the top of it right here represents the national government. And then these vertical stripes represent the 13 original states. So we've got our government at top, and then we've got our states down below that are supported by the government. And then the eagle also holds an olive branch in its right hand over here. And on its left side, it holds arrows. So the olive branch is to represent peace, and the arrows represent war and strength. And it's the olive branch is held in the dominant hand because we prefer peace over war. We didn't want to appear aggressive. And so the eagle is holding that in his dominant hand to say, this is what I really, really want. I want peace. I have strength, but it's because I'm going for peace. I want to have peace. So I thought that was really neat that that was something that they thought about, was which talon, which hand the eagle was holding the olive branch as compared to the arrows. I would not have thought of that, but someone did. And then the number 13 is represented on the bills quite a bit, and that represents the 13 original colonies. And it's lots of different places on the dollar bill you can find this represented. So there are 13 olive leaves and 13 olives on the olive branch. There are 13 arrows. There are 13 stars above the eagle, and there are 13 stripes on the eagle's shield. So those are some of the places where you can see that 13 repeated over and over because of those 13 original colonies or states. So over here, we see the seal for the Department of the Treasury on the $1 bill, and it says 1 behind it. The scales on this one represent justice. And again, there are 13 stars for the 13 colonies. And then the key represents official authority, that this is official. All right, so this one I think is really neat. Every bill has a letter that indicates which Federal Reserve Bank placed the order for the bill to be printed. So the bills requested by the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank have the letter H on them. So we can see right here. I think it's actually this one. Yeah. So this is where it would be if it was requested by St. Louis, it would have an H. And every Federal Reserve Bank has a different letter. There is also a number that represents the Federal Reserve Bank that it was printed at. And that for St. Louis would be the number 8. So on this particular bill here, we see a number 12. So this was printed at whichever Federal Reserve Bank is represented by number 12. If you ever see a bill that has an 8 on it, then you know it was printed here in St. Louis. So the letters are A through H, and the numbers 1 through 4 are used to indicate the position that the money was laid on the plate that printed it, which I would never have thought of, but it actually lets them know how it was laid when it was printed so that they know which direction it was printed. And then each bill has a unique serial number that is printed twice on the front, so we can see it right here. And that includes that L for where it was printed, or for where it was requested from, I think. And so it's on there 2 different times. So the people who are on the bills, laws prohibit the likeness of anyone who is alive from being used on currency. So Unfortunately, you and I cannot be put on a bill because we are currently alive. So everyone who is on a bill has already passed. And the people whose images are used on American money are well-known figures in American history. So we'll go over a couple of them real quick. George Washington is on the $1 bill. Thomas Jefferson is on the $2 bill. We don't see those very often. Abraham Lincoln is on the $5 bill. Alexander Hamilton is on the $10 bill. Andrew Jackson is on the 20. Ulysses S. Grant is on the 50, and Benjamin Franklin is on the $100 bill. So I can see there's Washington and Lincoln. Hamilton, who looks a little bit different than the Hamilton in the musical. So I know that there has been some talk about changing. I'm pretty sure it was Andrew Jackson. So the $20 bill, I know there have been talks about changing that one to Harriet Tubman. I think that is still in the works, but it hasn't happened yet. But I think it would be really cool to see a woman on a bill. And she is definitely a well-known figure in American history. So I think that would be really, really neat. So we'll have to keep watching and see if that happens. All right, so now we've learned about symbols on money. So we're going to see how they're actually printed. So here's another quick video that shows how they're printed. Each one is not printed out individually. They're printed on great big sheets, but a lot of work goes into it beforehand. So let's watch this video.
It takes one person to spend money, but many people to create money. These are the people from the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, also known as the Money Factory. Meet Brian. He's one of the banknote designers at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing.
My job is to design United States currency. One thing about being a banknote designer is 98% thinking. You have to think about what you're going to do and think about whether it's going to work when it gets on the press. The easiest approach about designing a bill is a big puzzle. You take different pieces and aspects of America or different things and you piece it together to come up with one united, almost like a story. Different icons such as the eagle, because I know we hand draw those, and to end up seeing it on a note is pretty awesome. Because it's like your artwork's all over the world.
Once the design team has finalized the design, steel plates need to be created for the printing press. This is Dixie. She's a script engraver and puts the finalized design into steel.
If you notice your money, it has lettering on it, and it also has numerals on it to denote the denomination. While we have designers that pick up and make designs, my job is to interpret their designs in steel. Sitting and cutting script, because it's very rhythmical. You're just looking in your die through your glass and twirling the die around and cutting it. There's not too many artists that can say they've had their work replicated billions of times.
Once the plates are created, the money starts being printed. Blank currency sheets are brought in. First, the background images are printed. Then presses print the backs of the notes and the faces of the notes. The final step is the printing of the serial number and the Treasury and Federal Reserve seals. Once the bills are printed, they're cut and packaged into bricks. The completed loads are transferred and securely stored in the Federal Reserve Vault. For more information on the latest bill design, visit newmoney.gov. For more about the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, including taking a tour, visit moneyfactory.gov. For more information on money and more, visit kids.gov.
Thank you guys so much. I hope that you had a good time, and I hope that you learned a little bit about money. I think getting to see the process of making money is really, really interesting. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that as well. All right, have a great day.